Hey guys, Jorge back with you. All right, so in this particular video, we are going to take a look at creating assessments. So video number one was how to log into ExamSoft. Video number two was how to create questions in ExamSoft. And now comes the cool part of putting it all together, putting all those questions that we so lovingly thought of and created and set up and did all that stuff so that we could finally figure out whether or not our kids were paying attention in class. So creating assessments is next. All right, so we'll go back to ExamSoft. All right, we're back at the home page here. And at this point, we are going to build assessment. All right, so again, we can click on the little blue dot, or we can go up to assessments and click on that. And then underneath assessments, we have this little button, all right, create new assessment. So we'll go ahead and click on that. Okay. So again, different teachers do different things. Some teachers like to add the questions first and then title everything later. Some people like to set it up the mechanics of the test first and then add the questions later. So whatever you want to do, whatever you're comfortable with is fine. Every test does need a name. Okay, so I'll call this one refresher test number one. All right, and then what's the test type? All right, is it exam? Is it a quiz? Is it practice? Is it a writing assignment, etc.? All right, most everybody just leaves it as exam. Exam and quiz are basically the exact same thing. Quite frankly, I'm not sure if there is a difference in terms of setup. All right, so we'll set it as an exam. All right, I am the creator. All right, so I'll leave my name there. And then I definitely need to put it in a folder. Now, one thing that might be confusing to some teachers, it was to me at first, was that the folders for assessments and the folders for questions are different. Okay, so you have underneath, so if you take a look at computer science again, right, so here's select folder. I'm in the computer science department. Here's Mascaro. All right, notice that I only have one folder for assessments, right? So I have an APCS folder that I had created previously, all right, but I didn't have any other folders associated with my name. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and create another folder here, all right, for practice assessments or something like that, refresher assessments, new folder. So the process to create a folder is exactly the same. Just understand that we file our questions in one place and we file our assessments in another place. All right, so we'll call this one, refresher exams. And we'll create that. And again, here we go, Mascaro, APCS, and refresher exams. This is the folder that I'm going to use to store this particular assessment. So I'm going to click on that. All right, so in terms of our setup, all right, our title, the type of assessment, the creator, and then the folder that this particular assessment is going to be stored in. Okay. As we move down the left-hand side, we can also take a look at scoring. All right, so in the last video, we talked about the scoring for a particular question. If we're comfortable with how we assign points to the individual questions, and we can just leave it as default weights. So it'll pull the information from each particular question, however it was set up. If we want to, we'll have if we have different value questions, but we decide at the end that let's make them all the same number of points, then we'll go ahead and assign evenly to all. All right, assign proportionally based on weights, and then customize it. All right, so whatever you want to do there is great. All right, security options. All right, we definitely want to give secure tests. All right, so secure test means that the device that the student is taking the quiz on or the test on, all right, will be locked down during the exam process. All right, so once they begin the test, basically all of their internet access gets shut down, all of their capability to move outside of the exam testing environment gets shut down. All right, so it's basically the device that they're on becomes a dedicated test-taking device only until they are actually finished and have submitted their test. All right, so usually secure is the way to go with stuff like that. If you want to give like a take-home test or something like that, and you want the kids to work on their own at some point, and you don't need that security, then go ahead and uncheck that for that particular test. All right, and then here, all right, randomized sequence and randomized choices is what we were talking about in the last video. All right, so randomized sequence, each version, each student will have a different version in terms of, you know, what's question number one, what's question number two, that sort of thing. And then randomized choices is if you have multiple choice questions, it randomizes the answer choices there. All right. So you can go ahead and randomize the sequence, randomize the answer choices. And then do you want a time limit for this particular assessment? Okay. And then if you do, right, how long do you want the kids to be able to work on this particular test? All right, is it 10 minutes? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 50 minutes? Whatever it is. All right, so we'll give a 30-minute time limit. Okay. Underneath options, all right, there's a bunch of different options that we can assign to this assessment. All right, as the kids type, do we want spell check to be activated? Yes or no? Will they have access to a calculator? Or are they bringing their own? All right. Do you want them to see numbers? It's probably a good idea for them to see numbers on the test in terms of the question numbers. Missing answer reminder is a good one. So if it's a long test and a kid skips a particular question, it's good to give them a reminder. So at some point something will pop up that says, hey, by the way, you forgot to answer number 5 or something along those lines. All right, text highlighting is, for the student to be able to highlight text. All right, backwards navigation, all right, means that they can go forward and backwards in the test. All right, if that box is not checked, it means that as they move through the exam, once they answer a particular question or move past a particular question, they are not allowed to go back, which seems kind of silly, but again, each teacher can set it up as they want. All right. Show 5-minute alarm. All right. So if it's a test and there's a definite time limit pressure on this, might be a good idea to give them a 5-minute warning. All right. So their device will kind of flash, change color for a moment, and give them a 5-minute warning. Okay. And are you giving this test on an iPad? So if kids have iPads that they're going to take the test on, yes, you definitely need to check that box, right? Especially for the freshman and the sophomore teachers, that has to be checked. Otherwise, the test will not be available to be taken on an iPad. All right. Attachments is an assessment-wide attachment. All right. So in the previous video, when we were creating the questions, we were taking a look at how to add an attachment to one particular question. This is now an assessment-wide attachment. All right, so chemistry teachers, if you're testing elements or something like that, you want a periodic table available to them for the entire test. This is where you would add that attachment. All right, so it's a system-wide attachment there. Okay, and then font override is a good one to use as well. Sometimes when we're creating questions, we might use different fonts especially if we're copying and pasting from somewhere else. Different fonts and different font sizes might appear on the test. So what will happen is as the student is moving from question to question, the font size changes, the font type changes, and it can be a little disconcerting sometimes, right? To have Helvetica in one and Times New Roman in another, and Wingdings in another, or something like that. So what we want to do is usually, and this is something that I usually do, usually you select, your favorite font. All right, so I'm boring. Arial, right? What size? All right, so that's for the question itself, and then for the answer choices itself. So basically, what that does is it forces all of the questions and the answers to be a uniform font and a uniform size. All right, so in terms of the setup of the assessment, that's pretty much, we're good to go there. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add our questions. All right, so I'm going to click on the Add Questions to the Assessment. Okay. Now, this file menu over on the left-hand side, all right, this folder tree, all right, is now where the questions are. So we're basically looking at the questions that we've created. All right, so again, I would go to Mascaro, and then I would find the folder or folders where my questions are. Okay, so my questions are in ExamSoft Troubleshooting. Okay, and then what we can do is we can either select them all. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so we can select all of our questions here, or just the ones that we want. All right, so let's say that I would definitely want this refresher question that we just created before. All right, I definitely want this question. I definitely want this question and this question. So we're just going to create a little 4-question deal there. Okay, so once we have selected the questions that we want, we go ahead and click on Add Selected to Assessment. All right, and then if we have other questions in other folders, okay, then we can go ahead and add those as well, right? So you don't have to necessarily have all of your questions in the same place. We can, you can kind of pick and choose from different question folders. All right, so I'm also going to add that one, and we're going to add that one. All right, we'll add selected to assessment. Okay. You can see down at the bottom the status of our current assessment. Total questions in assessment, we have 6 questions. I'm done selecting questions, so I can go ahead and click on Close. All right, and then here, all right, we can go ahead and take a look at what we have. All right, so here's the question title. Here's the ID, the revision, who created the questions. All right, so you can actually, interdepartmentally, you can have different people creating different kinds of questions. All right, different kinds of questions. All right, so this is multiple choice, fill in the blank. This is an essay question, and then the last 3 are multiple choice. All right, what's the weight for each one? Okay, then I can either, if I want to remove a particular question, I can do so here. I really don't want, this what is the meaning question, so I can just red X it there and it goes away. All right, and then the order is set here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But again, remember that that's only if we are not randomizing questions. The way that we set up this particular assessment is that we are randomizing the sequence, and then we are also randomizing the choices if we have to. At this point, the test looks good. It's ready to go, all right, in terms of the creation of it. We'll go ahead and save it. I get an error up here. Assessment titles can only contain the following characters: alphanumeric, parentheses, underscores, and hyphens. Okay. So I had forgotten about that one. So our title then has to be a little bit different. So I'm just going to take the pound sign out of it, or the hashtag as it's known now. All right, I grew up and it was called a pound sign back then. All right, so we'll just call it Refresher Test 1, no spaces, okay, and no pound sign. All right, so there we go. I'd forgotten about that little nugget. But it's not a big deal. Nothing got hurt. All right, I just changed the name of the test. All right, go ahead and save it now. The test is saved. Okay, all changes to this assessment were saved. Beautiful. All right, and we're done creating the test. All right, the assessment. So In the next video, we'll take a look at how to post the assessment so that the kids can actually take it at some point. All right, so we'll see you in a little bit.